Part 26. Such confrontation drills are wonderful and powerful. The battle situation at the foot of the mountain had already begun. With this clairvoyance, the battle situation could be clearly seen. And everyone's mind was also attracted by the battle situation. My prince, the guard battalion has set up an ambush, but the old minister didn't see the slightest clue. Is there any clue? General Wei held a clairvoyant and looked around, but found nothing, seeing that the red-robe soldiers had entered the goal as long as the capture of the flag is successful. The victory will be won. But he didn't see half a figure in the guard battalion. Could it be that he was afraid of the Red Robe army and didn't even dare to show his face? The confrontation in this round is also divided into two sides, the offensive and defensive. The attacking side needs to capture the defending side's flag within a certain period of time to win. At this time, the flag was already in front of the red side not far away. Lieutenant General Yang looked at the flag hanging high in the woods not far from the wind, which was very conspicuous. It only took a charge to take it down, but at this moment he felt a sense of unease. He stopped, raised his hand and made a gesture to stop the others. The Red Robe army behind him stopped. So he had to look at him for unknown reasons. I don't know why Lieutenant General Yang stopped. The flag was clearly in front of him, but Blue Team's guard battalion was not seen. I wanted to come to the game just now. They were already afraid of being beaten, so they didn't dare to come. Beware of deceit. Lieutenant General Yang was silent for a while, then reminded. Come and go ahead to explore the road. The front is clear at a glance. There was no sign of the enemy, so they didn't need to dispatch all 500 of them, just send a few people to pick up the flag. However, the Red Robe army always obeyed the order, and when they heard the order, a few people stood up immediately, and they went to explore the way. Everyone in the Red Robe army is a good player. And they are all masters who can fight against the barbarians, otherwise they won't let the barbarians scruples, and everyone's tone has changed. Be careful, Lieutenant General Yang instructed. A few people responded and moved neatly into the woods. Maybe Lieutenant General Yang was too concerned. There is no danger in such a small forest. Even if the guard battalion sets up an ambush, they are not afraid of it with their skills. Maybe a few of them can take down the flag in one fell swoop and get the best of them. There was nothing unusual in the woods. Only the chirping of insects and birds, and the sound of the wind blowing through the leaves. Several people have a slight contempt in their hearts. What guard battalion? It's still the Imperial Guard from the capital. He has a good name, but he's not a coward. He was scared by them just now, and no one is there at the moment. Thinking about it. Where are you hiding and crying? Lieutenant General Yang waited for a while, but no one came out, and his sense of unease became stronger and stronger. Lao Lu and the others don't want to grab the first prize and go directly to capture the flag, right? Lieutenant General Yang, why don't we rush in together and guard the camp? These shrimp soldiers and crab generals will be beaten down by me. There is no one, they have long been scared by us and dare not come out. Lieutenant General Yang persuaded someone next to him. They are all a little anxious. It is impossible for Lao Lu to take the credit for this game, right? When a few of them get the flags and come out, I'm afraid they will laugh when they see them. That's right, I have seen the capabilities of the guard battalion before. What if they lie in ambush? Could it be that they can find a flower in the woods? Let's go in together. Lieutenant General Yang hearing this, he couldn't help but hesitate. He looked at the soldiers around him who were eager to try, and then looked at the quiet woods. Could it be that he was thinking too much? What are you afraid of? The guard battalion is only a mob, we only need half of the troops to win them. General. Quickly order a quick decision. Lieutenant General Yang's originally hesitant heart, after hearing this, hesitating just get down to it. It is true, their Red Robe army have never been defeated. How can they be afraid of this mere guard battalion? He nodded and raised his hand. Crush. Capture the flag. Everyone took orders and couldn't wait to rush into the woods. When everyone on the mountain saw this scene, they all agreed that this game would end soon. Ming Yu's hand in his sleeve clenched his fist lightly, his eyes sparkling. A pair of peach blossom eyes like obsidian. Very beautiful. Xie Yisho, who was inadvertently watching, thought so. Xie Yisho took the clairvoyance that Ming Yu handed over and followed Ming Yu's gaze. Seeing that Lieutenant General Yang ordered the soldiers to rush into the woods, he immediately frowned. He took the clairvoyant off and looked sideways at Ming Yu. Ming Yu seemed to sense his gaze and tilted his head to show him a big smile. Xie Yisho calmly retracted his gaze and pursed his lips indiscernibly. Not too far into the woods, someone accidentally tripped over the vines one after another. Before anyone could get up, they heard someone shouting, "Damn, who is plotting against me behind my back?" Then the referee who accompanied them ruled this person out. It turned out that just now, he felt a pain in his back. And he had been hit by a dark arrow, a white ash mass on his back, and a short arrow with no arrow clusters and a blue strap lying on the ground. When everyone was a little stunned, there were a few more calls and more than a dozen people were judged out. Where is the enemy? Where did the cold arrows come from? For a time, the people in the Red Robe army were a little surprised. But they were people who had gone through a big battle. After a brief panic, they all quickly calmed down, and each became cautiously alert. Lieutenant General Yang understood at this moment that the guards were ambushed in the forest, and his hunch was correct. In the end, he was reckless. Now that you have come in, it is impossible to exit again. The only way is to move forward to grab the flag and win the final victory. Zoo. After a while, another dozen or 20 people were roped in. Suo hung upside down on a tree, covered in white ashes, and if they were real enemies, they would have already become hedgehogs at this moment. These people were hung on the tree. And they were dizzy at the moment, and they didn't know what was going on. They were obviously very cautious, but they didn't expect it. Bah! Bad luck! A short-tempered person was hung up. And when he heard the news that the referee had pronounced them out, he couldn't help but scolded. Since Wang Dahu joined the Red Robe army for so many years, he has never suffered such a loss. In the blink of an eye, dozens of people have been lost, and the shadow of the enemy has not been seen, which makes everyone in the Red Robe army a little scared. If this is a real encounter with the enemy, then their Red Robe army will suffer heavy losses. General, what should I do now? Someone calmed down and asked Lieutenant General Yang. Now the enemy is in the dark, they are in the open, and it is clear that they are being used as a living target and must make changes, otherwise they will be powerless to fight back. Lieutenant General Yang thought for a while, and said decisively, "Everyone spread out, find out where the enemy is, and be ready to counterattack at any time." They gathered together. The target was too big, and the opponent could only better target them. It is not so easy to target. Being able to hide in the dark and release cold arrows means that the enemy is not far away from them, but they are well concealed so that no one can find them. Enemies must be found so they don't fall into passive territory. Everyone obeyed the orders and acted separately. To be honest, they were not afraid of any enemy. And no one would be their opponent if they slammed into it. However, with this kind of tactic, they don't even know where the opponent is. This is how they fight the enemy. They formed a team of 3 or 5 people, horns of each other, fanning out in all directions, and they searched like a carpet, trying to find the guard camp in the dark. These guys are too hateful. They don't dare to fight with swords and guns. What kind of heroes are they hiding behind and attacking? A group of cowards. Someone echoed, they have to hide like mice. If they dare to come out, they won't lose their pants like they did in the last game. Zuzi, be serious, don't be too hard on others. Instead, he was out of the game. The teammate next to him persuaded. Team leader Wu Wang glanced at them and said solemnly, although this is a drill, we have to look at it as a real battle. If we lose this round, do you have the courage to go to see General Xie? When they came out, everyone was silent. Not to mention going to see their generals after losing this game. They are afraid that they will have no face to stay in the Red Robe Army. This game is so frustrating, there is not a single figure. How to fight? Someone was anxious and stomped his feet and whispered. Suddenly I felt something was wrong under my feet. When I was about to check, I didn't know something caught my ankle under my feet, and then I stood unsteadily and fell straight. A few people in front heard the movement and turned around. One of them didn't pay attention and was tripped to the ground just like the man just now. Wu Wang secretly said that it was not good. He knew that his team might be in the game. He stepped on his feet and wanted a carp to stand up. However, before he could move, he was punched hard on the waist and stood up. His strength was immediately slackened. Then he was held down by his hands and feet, unable to move. Stop struggling. You're out, someone whispered in his ear. He looked out, only to find that several faces were painted with yellow and green paint. And there were still many dead branches and leaves hanging on their bodies. Who is the person who is not the guard camp? No wonder they haven't noticed it, and it's a good disguise, isn't it? The people in the guard camp had already subdued their team, covering their mouths with cloth balls, like bundling rice dumplings, and threw them all behind the bushes and rolled into a pile. A man approached with a smile, tore off the rag from Wu Wang's mouth, and then slapped him on the back of his forehead, cursing very familiarly. Stinky boy, how did the general teach you? Do you understand? Have you learned a lesson? Wu Wang's eyes widened. He was stunned for a while before he recognized the person in front of him, and stammered out, Ji. General Ji? This person is Ji Yu, who was borrowed by Ming Yu to the guard camp at the beginning, and has not been able to go back until now. And it was he who led a small team to ambush and captured Wu Wang and the others. At this moment, Wu Wang just wants to hit the wall. General Ji, whose family are you? After all, he was also from the Red Robe Army, and he didn't show mercy to his former comrades. There was still a dull pain in his waist, and Ji Yu's punch just now was really fucking cruel. General Ji, you've only left the Red Robe Army for a few days? Is that how you treat your brothers? Ji Yu smiled, not at all embarrassed. No way, who told me that, brother? I'm just messing around in the guard camp, and when I go back, if I'm a rival to the guard camp brothers, I won't be soft-hearted. So, yes, I can't stop the big guy. Everyone was speechless. And they really wanted to tear that proud face to shreds. Well, they all remembered it. The kid surnamed Ji had better not go back. As long as he dared to go back to the Red Robe Army and see if they don't work together to take care of you. Ji Yu watched their confrontation drill from the side. And his eyes were so greedy that his hands were itchy, so he beckoned to Mo Zhang repeatedly, and he also went off to play. As a result, Wu Wang's team hit the muzzle of the gun and were caught alive without any precaution. The brothers all looked at Ji Yu resentfully and blamed themselves for being unlucky to run into such a difficult person. In fact, there are many similar encounters with them that are being staged in the woods. The unexpected actions of the opponents and the camouflage of the whole body almost make the soldiers in the Red Robe Army helpless, and they are in a position of passive beating for a while. In the blink of an eye, Lieutenant General Yang has already figured out the key. It seems that the guard camp still has two brushes, at least the ambush and hiding is unmatched. They have a wealth of experience against the enemy for many years, but they have never seen such a brazen method of fighting. It stands to reason that they are not afraid of any opponent. Even if they are fighting alone, they can fight to the death with the barbarians, but who are they facing? These people are ruthless and resolute, and often use one move to defeat the enemy. No matter what kind of insidious tactics are used, as long as they are useful, they can all be used on the opponent. Fortunately, this is a drill. If it is really against the enemy, and encountering such an enemy, it is really a top 2, and you can only admit that you are unlucky. At this moment, the battle situation was stalemate, and he was not allowed to think about it. He glanced at the position of the flag and issued an order immediately. Ignoring the squadrons that fell in the surrounding area, quickly assembled their manpower and rushed towards the flag. The only way to win at this moment was to capture the flag. Everyone understands that capture the flag is the only chance. They can't lose, they are the Red Robe Army. Their Red Robe Army that has never been defeated. Only by capturing the flag can the guards hiding in the shadows face each other head-on. And as long as they dare to stop, even if they only have half of the manpower, they can guarantee that the game will be won. Mo Zhang felt a little regretful when he saw the Red Robe Army who changed his strategy. It's a pity that they couldn't consume more of their manpower. Seeing that the Red Robe Army were trying to capture the flag regardless of their desire. The teams blocking at this moment had no meaning in the slightest. As long as they capture the flag, even if there is only one person left, it counts as a victory for the Red Robe Army. It was necessary to face it head-on. Mo Zhang observed the situation and could not let them easily capture the flag. Fortunately, 1/3 of them had just been wiped out. 500 of them faced more than 300. If they couldn't win, it would only mean that the Red Robe Army was too strong. Kill the enemy with all your strength and hold the flag. Mo Zhang issued an order. One side attacked and the other side defended, and the two sides quickly formed a confrontation. Although Ming Yu has clairvoyance, the trees are deep and dense, and it is difficult to see through. However, there are personal soldiers who report the battle situation in a timely manner, so he quickly grasps the first-hand battle information. When Ming Yu heard General Wei's questioning question, he raised his eyebrows and chuckled, since it's an ambush, how can it be seen through by ordinary people? It's normal that generals can't see through. General Xie. Do you think so? See Xie Yishou silent in thought. Ming Yu raised his chin. General Xie, why don't you guess when the two sides will decide the outcome? How about the casualties? The previous round was abused so badly, Ming Yu still had some thoughts in his heart. It was a little uncomfortable, but at this moment, he was determined to join him. Xie Yishou looked at him, but before he spoke, Wen Yujiao said with a smile, "My prince, the battle situation just now is very telling. Although the Guard battalion is from the Imperial Guard, it lacks combat experience than the Red Robe Army." Everyone nodded in agreement. Ming Yu was sullen, but he didn't expect this group of old soldiers to really beat the Red Robe Army, and hummed. Really? The Red Robe Army is so powerful, but it's not really invincible, right? This prince believes that even if you can't win now, you may not be able to win in the future. Offending the prince, he said bluntly, with General Xie in the Red Robe Army, it would be extremely difficult to win. Ming Yu squinted at Xie Yishou, he snorted, and there was a competitive idea in his heart. And one day I will show you that the soldiers of our guard camp are no worse than anyone else. In the end, the results of the battle were reported. And the Red Robe Army finally grabbed the flag and won. However, their losses were too heavy, and they were caught off guard by the new fighting method of the Guard Army. The Guard's concealment methods emerge in an endless stream, and with the help of the surrounding favorable terrain, it is impossible to find their traces. Lieutenant General Yang was downcast. Their Red Robe army had never won such a difficult victory. In his opinion, although this game was narrowly won, in fact, such a huge loss should be counted as their loss. This kind of battle made them feel extremely humiliated. After knowing the whole situation of the battle, Ming Yu calculated the casualty ratio of both sides in his mind. Very good. Although the Guard Battalion failed to hold the flag in the end, even if they were defeated, they could still severely damage the Red Robe Army. They almost wiped out more than half of the Red Robe Army's manpower. In comparison, this is a big improvement. Ming Yu believes that this progress will only get bigger and bigger. And the distance between them and the Red Robe Army will also get smaller and smaller. He was very satisfied with this result, and encouraged the guards to make persistent efforts. What about the Red Robe Army? They can still knock them down. Ming Yu was triumphant and looked around. Do you have anything else to say? If he hadn't seen it with his own eyes, General Wei would probably be the first to not believe in such a victory. How could let a guard battalion lose so many people to the Red Robe Army? It's not that he didn't understand the combat effectiveness of the guards, and to put it nicely, it was the Emperor's personal guards. In fact, those who flaunted their legs could only chase away domesticated beasts such as snakes, insects, tigers and leopards when the royal family was hunting. Their real strength is not comparable to those sides' garrison. However, it was such a group of people that the Red Robe Army suffered a dumb loss. I believe that the Red Robe Army has not lost so many people in a battle for a long time. I have to say that this was a wonderful ambush. And it was a good performance to successfully ambush the Red Robe Army. The camouflage and single kill ability of the Guard Battalion is also too strong. Almost as long as it is a single team. As long as there is a suitable opportunity, it will be won in one fell swoop. Their concealment methods are superb, ensuring that their side is not detected by the enemy, and can also disrupt and confuse the judgment of the other generals. More importantly, those traps and roadblocks that are adapted to local conditions are simple and practical, and are a rare coup for the enemy. There is a saying in the art of warfare: if many trees move, they will come. If many grass and many obstacles, they will be suspicious. If birds have risen, they will fall. And the ambush of the guard camp that we have seen today can actually be reasoned out of common sense. There are no people everywhere, but there are people everywhere. General Wei stroked his beard, still reminiscing about the battle just now. If he encountered it, how should he deal with it, and how much would he lose? If such concealment methods can be used in frontier garrison troops, then garrison troops will surely be able to attack the enemy by surprise. Hearing Ming Yu's words at this moment, his old face smiled like a chrysanthemum blooming. The ambush in the guard camp is really beautiful. When the time comes, our troops in the border areas will have to learn from the guard camp. My prince. It's not as good as our garrison and my prince's team. How many confrontation drills does the guard have to do? Ming Yu naturally couldn't ask for such a request. And he came up with this set of confrontation drills, not to improve the combat capabilities of the soldiers. Each army has its own different combat style. Only by adapting to different combat tactics can the soldiers grow up as soon as possible. Therefore, such confrontation drills are better for Ming Yu. Okay, Ming Yu agreed very readily. I'll be waiting for the garrison at any time. Friendship comes first, competition comes second, winning or losing is not important. As long as we can learn from each other and make progress together. Ha ha ha, that's the reason, so be it settled. General Wei laughed. Although their garrison is not as good as the Red Robe Army, it should not be a big problem for the Guard Army to contend, and it is certainly better to be able to progress together. You are very good. Over time, this army will become a very unique existence. Xie Yishuo said firmly. Ming Yu squinted his eyes, and if he could get General Xia's affirmation, it would prove that the hard work of the guard camp was not in vain. As long as he can train this guard army, he will have the manpower he can use. In the future, Ming Yu will not be afraid. Whether it is guarding the caravan or the territory, he will no longer need to ask others. Xie Yishuo's vision is indeed unique. And he does have the idea to train this guard camp into a famous special force in later generations, but the current guard camp is too far behind. Today is just a surprise, leaving the opponent unprepared. If the opponent understands their own routine, I am afraid that they will be abused in minutes like the first game. If you win the award, it's the Red Robe Army's mercy, so that these brats will not be wiped out. Ming Yu laughed twice. Although his mouth was modest, his heart was secretly happy.